Today's Spotlight is brought to you in part by presenting sponsor, Busey Bank. Busey, your dream, our promise. Welcome back to Spotlight. I'm your host, Jane Wernette. I'm joined now by Mark Trembecki and Sarah Orleans of the DuPage Children's Museum. So welcome.
Thank you.
Thanks so much.
Good to have you here. This is a great time of year in the summer to talk about the museum. And I'm going to start right off with you, Mark. Tell us a little bit about the history of the DuPage Children's Museum and how you got involved.
Sure. The DuPage Children's Museum was established over 30 years ago by two early childhood educators, Dorothy Carpenter and Louise Beam, who saw a need for hands-on learning, for capabilities of children to build through experimentation and learning in a very hands-on way. And I think that need is even more prevalent and more profound today. The Children's Museum is really designed to inspire curiosity, creativity, and community in children through art, science, and math, and also to build that bond between the child learner and their adult learning partner. I think another very important thing that we do at the Children's Museum. I've been on the board, I'm starting my 9th year, and I got involved when two community leaders, Tom McGee and Nancy Nyberg, said, you know, you might be interested in this. We think that you'd be a good addition to the board. And as I learned more about the mission of the museum and the type of work, it's been a great journey and a great thing for me to be involved with.
Well, I know personally you're very involved in education, and so this is just another part of that whole journey for very young children all the way up as far as education is concerned, right?
Yep, my parents were both teachers. My wife was an educator. My sister is. Even though I'm a banker and a CPA, I come from a long line of educators, so this is my way of really saluting the work that they do that I think is often unseen by many people in the community.
Absolutely, absolutely. Now, Sarah, you've been there at the helm for a long time now, but talk a little bit about how the Children's Museum is really helping families in need here in our community.
Well, if we're talking about families in general, I think we help families every day who come to the museum as visitors. As I really think of it as the third space in their lives, that they have their home and that's where they live and get nurtured, and they have their school and that's their work. And then there's this wonderful space that the museum provides that is really about that idea of what Mark talked about, hands-on learning, exploring, having those exciting environments to inspire thinking that may not go on or may not be possible because of the constraints of 30 children in a classroom, that you don't have those sort of open-ended opportunities where you are building and constructing your own meaning and your own thinking. That becomes really important when that's accessible to every child. And our focus this year has been, how do we make sure the museum is accessible and open to every child? And we now served over 1,800 family households who come through our Family Access Program. And that program is really designed to be an invitation to families who financial, language, cultural barriers may keep them from coming to the museum. And we have hit very successful. We've had wonderful financial partners who have helped to support this program. And so how we change lives, I think of as being that space that helps inspire an adult in a child's life to see their role in a child's learning. And that's by being right beside them and being curious, to wonder. And when you create an environment like the museum is able to do, you have a lot more opportunity as an adult to see the important role that you play in their lives.
Yeah, and I think, you know, just having used that so often when my children were little, it's just a very happy space, you know, and I think that's one of the beauties of it. Talk a little bit about the Risk and Reach program, because I know you're doing a lot of work. You talked about inclusion, but talk a little bit about your Risk and Reach program.
Well, the Risk and Reach study came from Erickson Institute, and it was really to all of us a call to action of what are not just being here, but what is a role that we can play in reaching children that are at risk. And that risk that we talk about is about not being ready for kindergarten. And one of the things we realized is that through our Family Access Program, we already had access to all of these families, over 2,000 of them, who are coming on a regular basis now to the museum as members. And that we had the opportunity to partner with some of the social service agencies who don't have that opportunity to see families in this playful way. We have great stories, and we don't have time for all of those, but some great stories of the connection of connecting people to the services that are in our community that will help their children be successful by the time they enter school, and connecting them. So we now have a program on the second Sunday of every month that will focus solely on connecting all families, but families to some of the services and things that are provided that children need to be successful in school.
It's wonderful to see that collaboration, which kind of leads me to a question of you, Mark. How can the community get engaged and involved?
Well, we think of it in terms of time, talent, and passion, and that translates into being a volunteer, to being a donor, and to being an advocate for really all the things that Sarah just mentioned. So I think in terms of being a volunteer, just a little statistic for everybody, last year we had over 15,000 hours volunteered, which when you think about it is almost 8 employees. And so that's so important, whether that's on the floor or helping in other ways. We really rely on those volunteers. The second is as a donor, to make an investment, and I wouldn't call it a gift, I'd call it an investment in what we do in early childhood education. As a nonprofit, we need that support of the community. And then lastly, as an advocate, to really talk about all the topics that Sarah just mentioned in terms of the importance of early learning and supporting that partnership, because we think that's the foundation, or we know it is from the research, to be successful in further educational pursuits, in the workplace. These are the future innovators and leaders in our community and in the world. And so I think the work that we're doing really deserves that sort of advocacy and investment.
That's wonderful, and that's a lot of people hours that you're getting donated, which speaks to your mission. Sarah announced her retirement in March, so now you're looking on as a board for new leadership. Talk a little bit about that.
Sure. Well, first I have to thank Sarah for all that she's done during her tenure in the last 5 years, or almost 6 years. She brought great financial discipline to the organization, has built really a phenomenal team, and anybody who knows Sarah knows that she's got great passion for the organization. Sarah was very clear with her time horizon when she joined the organization, and so we've been planning for her succession for the last 18 months. We've formed a search committee with 6 very engaged board members and have an outside search firm supporting the process. So I don't have a news scoop for you today, no major update, but I'm very confident we're going to find through this process the right candidate to come in and fill the very large shoes that Sarah has filled over the last number of years.
Wonderful. Well, Sarah, I know we thank you for that service. I'm going to, as we wrap up really quickly, a project that you're super excited that's on the horizon for you.
Well, we have one of my favorite spaces in the museum. It's called Young Explorers, and we haven't had a major update of those areas in a number of years. And a lot of people always say, you know, I think of the museum as for older children, but we have these 3 rich environments, and those are being renovated this year, and we'll have brand new spaces this winter. That's huge. And then right behind it, we have an incredible exhibit for slightly older children, but how people make things.
Okay.
That will be coming, and it will be here for almost 6 months.
What a lovely legacy to leave, right?
I feel so good about where I'm leaving things. I'm jealous of the person who gets to come in and step in and just build and grow from here. And it's an exciting time for the museum.
Well, thank you for your service. Thank you for your leadership. And if you would like to find out more about the DuPage Children's Museum, please go and visit their website. We're going to take a quick break, but stay tuned. We're coming right back with more Spotlight.